The influence that the English evangelist George Whitefield had in the American colonies in the 1700s cannot be overstated. George Whitefield lived less than 56 years, from 1714 to 1770, and between 1738 and his death in 1770, 32 years, he made 7 trips to the colonies. His second trip, which lasted nearly 15 months, from November of 1739 until February of 1741, received the largest public response of the 7. Whitefield was 25 years old at the time. Colonial America had experienced several local revivals in the years preceding Whitefield's arrival in 1739. The most powerful and best-known revival preceding Whitefield's arrival was in the New England colonies, spearheaded by the Congregationalist pastor Jonathan Edwards. Whitefield arrived in Philadelphia on Friday night, November 2, 1739. He attended the Church of England that Sunday. He met with Presbyterian and Baptist pastors on Monday. He preached in the Church of England on Tuesday, and he shared a meal with a Quaker pastor on Wednesday. The people of Philadelphia began demanding that he preach somewhere other than a church building. So on Thursday night, Whitefield held his first open-air service from the courthouse stairs with about 6,000 people in attendance. He preached there again on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, with over 8,000 people attending each time. Whitefield described the Friday night service. "Before I came, all was hushed, exceedingly quiet. The night was clear, but not cold. Lights were in most of the windows all around us for a considerable distance. The people did not seem weary of standing, nor was I weary of speaking. The Lord endued me with power from on high. My heart was enlarged and warmed with divine love, and my soul was so carried out in prayer that I thought I could have continued my discourse all night." One of Philadelphia's leading citizens at the time later became America's leading founding father, Benjamin Franklin. While Mr. Franklin took no interest in Whitefield's message, he was intrigued by his abilities as an orator, and he was astonished at the impact he was having on the crowds. Franklin wrote, "He had a loud and clear voice and articulated his words and sentences so perfectly that he might be heard and understood at a great distance, especially as his audiences, however numerous, observed the most exact silence. He preached one evening from the top of the courthouse steps, and I computed that he might well be heard by more than 30,000. It was wonderful to see the change soon made in the manners of our inhabitants. From being thoughtless or indifferent about religion, it seemed as if all the world were growing religious, so that one could not walk through the town in an evening without hearing psalms sung in different families of every street." When Whitefield left Philadelphia, he began to head south towards Georgia, and he records how along the way he preached in numerous places. On November 29th, he preached in Chester, Pennsylvania. "I preached to about 5,000 people from a balcony. In Wilmington, Delaware, on Friday, November 30th. Preached at noon and again at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Received several fresh invitations to preach at various places, but was obliged to refuse them all. Oh, that I had 100 tongues and lives. They should all be employed for my dear Lord Jesus." In Newcastle, Delaware, on Saturday, December 1st. Preached to about 2,000 from a balcony. In White Clay Creek on Sunday, December 2nd. The weather was rainy, but upwards of 10,000 people were assembled. I preached from a tent erected for me by Mr. William Tennant. I continued my discourse for an hour and a half. I preached a second time from the same place. My body was weak. God continued to use George Whitefield mightily throughout the remainder of this second visit to America, and he would return to the colonies 5 more times. On each of these trips, God used Whitefield in different memorable ways. He arrived on his 7th and final trip in 1769. After spending the winter in the Deep South, he made his way north, preaching in Philadelphia, New York, and throughout New England. There's a stone monument in the small northwestern Connecticut town of Sharon, marking one of his many preaching stops on his final tour. It reads, "Site of the Second House of Worship in Sharon. George Whitefield preached here June 18, 1770. Text, Marvel not that I said unto thee, ye must be born again." John 3:7. An immense congregation assembled. This was just 3 months before his death. In September of 1770, Whitefield was preaching at the Old South Presbyterian Church in Newburyport, Massachusetts, a church that was started in 1746 as a result of Whitefield's preaching, and a church where he had preached many times. Whitefield had requested to be buried beneath the pulpit of that church. On September 30th, he suffered a severe asthma attack, and he died in the church parsonage. You can visit Whitefield's burial place in the basement of the Old South Church, and you can read more of the amazing stories of his ministry in the 2-volume biography, George Whitefield, by Arnold Dallimore. Christian, God has used his obedient servants to do amazing works for his glory throughout the centuries. Stay the course.